Hello, welcome back. So there's a couple of things you're going to need for today's pH Fizz lab. The first thing you're going to need is citric acid crystals. These are just citric acid. It's available at Walmart or Food Lion, just in the canning section, wherever they sell the cans and the glass jars and the lids for people to put tomatoes and green beans and pickles and all that in. That's where you find this. This is something you add when you're canning things to keep it from going bad. Then another thing you're going to need is baking soda. Most of you are going to have a box of baking soda. I buy it like this because I use a whole lot of it. But baking soda is another thing you're going to need. And then powdered sugar. So just regular old powdered sugar. And of course you can buy Domino, or you can get great value at store brand or whatever. Then you're going to need something to beat apart. You could use a spoon. You would just need to make sure that you get a level, like shake it off a little bit and get a level spoonful. I'm going to be using this. It's the top to a crucible. It's the top to a little crucible that we use in chemistry class. But what I'm going to do is scoop up and then use this to level off. And that way I can make sure I get an even part. Normally when I'm making this for class, for students, I use one of those measuring cups that comes on Liquid Medicine for Children. That's my part. If I wanted to make enough for the whole school, I might use a gallon bucket as my part. So I would have a gallon bucket and fill it up all the way for one part if I wanted to make a whole bunch of the stuff. That's the great thing about this recipe. It'll make as much or as little as you want. If you wanted your part to be as much as you could pick up on the end of this little stick, that's what we did for the people in class, so that we only made a little bit for each person. But that's what you're going to need. Now we're going to go over to the other Ms. Harris, and it's still me, giving the notes and getting you ready to actually do the lab. Okay, so here we are over here with the other Ms. Harris. Hi. So the top of the thing is just what you need. Clean, dry container with lid, something to measure your parts. Then powdered sugar, citric acid crystals, and baking soda. Now, I am assuming that you have watched notes 2A and 2B before this. If you have not watched notes 2A and 2B in previous days, in the previous days folders, and you're trying to do this now, I really would recommend you go back, because otherwise you're not going to be able to answer the question at the bottom, and you're not going to know what I'm talking about as much. But basically, we are reviewing what we've been talking about: acids, bases, and salt. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is filling in this first line. 8 parts, C12H22O11. Well, we know that we've got powdered sugar, citric acid, and baking soda. So we've got to figure out which one of those that is. So it's C12, C12H22O11. Now, there is a chemical formula that your life science teacher really, really wanted you to remember. Now, I know that school ended funny last year, and so you may not. But the formula for glucose, the formula for simple plant sugar, is the one she wanted you to know. C6H12O6 is plant sugar. So this is the one that the plant directly makes. This is the one that the sugarcane makes in its stalk. But what happens is those sugarcane or those sugar beets or whatever get harvested. They get taken to the plant and they get squeezed. All the juice gets squeezed out of them. Then that juice is boiled. And what do we notice about the numbers? C6, 12. That's double. H, 12, 22. So the difference, 12 plus 12 is 24. So 24 minus 2 is 2. 2 H's. Then we've got O, 11. Well, O6 times 2 would be 12. So that means we're missing 1. 12 minus 11 is 1. So 1 oxygen. So what do we have there? H2O, 1 molecule of water. So the difference between plant sugar and refined sugar, the stuff that comes in a bag and is the little crystals, is that they have taken the plant sugar and boiled away 1 molecule of water for every 2 molecules of plant sugar. and that refines it, concentrates it, makes it sweeter, makes it refined sugar. So that's where the C12H22O11 comes in. That's refined sugar. I've taken that plant sugar, I've boiled away one water molecule for every 2 plant sugars, and I get this sweeter sugar. And that's why we don't like plant sugar as much. When we eat sugar that's straight from a plant, we think it's bitter, we think it tastes funny, it's not as sweet, because we have grown to like this refined sugar that's had one of those waters boiled away, made it sweeter and more condensed. So 8 parts C12H22O11 means 8 parts sugar. So you're going to need to fill that in. And the difference between powdered sugar and regular granulated sugar is just that they take granulated sugar and put it in a food processor and go bzz, 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 and then make it powdered sugar. Like, it's a physical difference. It's not a chemical one. Okay, 2 parts C6H8O7. Now, that's got hydrogen in it, but not hydroxide, so that must mean it is our acid. So that is citric acid. And then NaHCO3, it should be NaOHCO3, but anyway, that is sodium bicarbonate, as in baking soda. And then H2O, we know what that is, right? Right, water. All right, so basically, what we're going to do here is make an edible bath bomb. All right, so normally bath bombs are citric acid, baking soda, then Epsom salts or some sort of soaking salts, and that's what makes them inedible. You can eat Epsom salts, but it'll make you poop. It's a laxative, so you don't really want to eat it. And then some sort of fragrance oil, some coloring, but that stuff is just there for extras. The thing that makes it fizz is the baking soda and the citric acid. So the baking soda and the citric acid are dry, and so you can squeeze them together with the salt and the oils, and you have your little bath bomb. But as soon as you drop it in the water, right, it fizzes, because that's when the dry acid and the dry base get activated by the water. Then they mix, they neutralize. There's a chemical reaction, and we get gas being created with the bubbles that are created. And then we end up with water and salt to soak in and soak away our sore muscles. So basically, we're going to do the same thing. The sugar is there to just make it palatable, to make it candy. But then we've got the citric acid to be our acid, and we've got the baking soda to be our base. And it's all dry, so when it touches, right, our tongue, that's when they activate and they become, we get our neutralization reaction, we get the fizz, we get the gas. Okay, so where is the water coming from? Am I going to go get water? No, the water's coming from my mouth. It's coming from my saliva. Okay, so now we're going to go back over to the other Mrs. Harris, and she's going to give you instructions for how to complete the experiment. Okay, now that we've talked a little bit about chemical formulas and we've talked a little bit about acids and bases and what we're doing here today, let's actually do the lab. So the first thing you're going to need is 8 parts powdered sugar. So because I'm using this as my part, I'm going to scoop it down into the powdered sugar and then hold it by the crucible lid and then level it off so that I get just 1 part powdered sugar. All right, I'm going to do that 7 more times. It was messy, but I did it. And we now have just about 8 lids full of powdered sugar in my container. And that was one thing I forgot to include, that you needed a container. You need a clean, dry container with a lid to mix this all up in. All right, now I need 2 parts citric acid. So again, I'm going to fill up my crucible lid here. And then I'm going to use the stick to level it off. Okay, and that's 1. And then I'm going to do that a second time. That's 2. And now I need 1 part baking soda. Got some clumps in there. Gotta get those out. I think I need a little more. Okay. Now we're going to put the lid on and shake it up. Now, if you like sour candy a whole lot, if you like Warheads and Sour Patch Kids and all that stuff, you might want to add a little more of the citric acid because you might not even taste this or think much of it. Because the citric acid is what makes it sour since it's an acid. And a lot of times people that really like sour candy like this a whole lot if they add a little more citric acid. Now, I don't really care for this stuff very much, but I'm going to do it. So just a tiny little bit, okay? I don't know if you can see it, but I can feel it. See all that fuzz? Ugh. And there's the sour. Oh my. Let's see if we can get it to show up on here. So I've got a rubber stopper. I'm going to put a little on there. And then I'm going to drop a little water on it. And see if we can't see what's going on. Oh, there it goes. Now, a lot of people say, and I can hear it fizzing. A lot of people say that to them, these taste like those soda bottle candies. And that's exactly what they are. Those soda bottle candies is this stuff. It's powdered sugar, citric acid, and baking soda. And then they add a little color and flavor. But there you go, our chemical reaction. That's what's happening in your mouth because the water in your saliva activates the dry acid in the dry base. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the other Miss Harris so that we can write down everything on our lab sheet. All right, so I got to correct the other Miss Harris. Got to correct myself. Earlier, I said experiment, but this is not an experiment. I even tried to make it clear that this is a lab, but it's a demonstration, not an experiment. For it to be an experiment, there would have to be something that we were changing. There would have to be an IV that we were changing. But that's not what we're doing here. We are just demonstrating something that we already know how it works. It would be an experiment if we tried using different amounts of citric acid or different amounts of baking soda. But I wanted you to experience the what happens, and that only happens if you do it in the right balance. So we couldn't really experiment with this. If you want to experiment with it at home, you can. You can try adding a little more baking soda or a little more citric acid. I wouldn't do a whole lot more because it's definitely going to mess things up. But so the first question, did you like it? Well, this is opinion. I don't like the stuff, so I'm going to say no. A lot of people that like sour candy like it. They think it tastes good, but I don't care for it. So here, what observations? Okay, so what did you see, smell, taste, and perhaps hear when you tried the fizz? So we saw a white, powdery substance. I don't smell, it maybe smells sweet. Some people might think that they can smell like an orangey sort of a smell because of the citric acid, but it doesn't smell much. Then taste, it tasted sour yet sweet. And I felt, I don't know why I didn't put it on there, but on my tongue felt furry on my tongue. Yeah, I don't like it. That's why I don't like it. And here I heard it, the bubbles popping. Okay, so we need to use the terms acid, base, neutralization, water, salt, gas, and chemical reaction in a couple of sentences. Now, if you think, oh, I've got this. I've been paying attention. I know exactly what's going on. I got this. Go. I would rather you do that, okay? I am actually this time around going to give more points to people who do follow and use all, you got to use all the words, okay? You use all the words. Even if you don't copy me, you will get a bit better grade than someone who copies me exactly on this. Because even if you don't do the lab, if you've been paying attention, you should be able to answer this in your own words. And I will give you more points for being able to answer it in your own words. If you copy me, you're still going to get an A. You're just not going to get a 100. Maybe you'll get a 96 or something. But I want to give points to the people who are using their noodles and actually thinking this stuff through. But so if you think you got this, pause and then write yours and then read mine and see if it's close enough, and then submit. If you want to just go ahead and submit it, that's fine. I would rather you do that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But here we go. If you want to stay. So we used citric acid, and we know that's our acid, and baking soda. Oh, it just switched colors on me. Hey, base. That was interesting. So we've used acid and base. And the water, and there's water, in our saliva to create a chemical reaction. Okay? We use citric acid and baking soda and the water in our saliva to create a chemical reaction. It was the neutralization reaction. So we've used neutralization. So now we've got to get salt and gas. The products are water, there's water again, and salt. Got salt. A gas was also created, which makes bubbles. All right, if you need to, copy that down. I would prefer that you kind of do it on your own, but if you can't, write that down. At least you'll still get an A. When you're all done, you need to share it with me. So when you finish writing your paragraph, you need to click share on the top right, and then make sure you're sharing it with my Nottoway Schools address, this one right here. So Nottowayschools.org, the one that has the colorful liquids in the Erlenmeyer flask. Click on that one, then click done, and that will share it with me. Okay, have a lovely day. Make good decisions. Bye.